I kind of see the network has kind of bottomed out. I'm not talking about price action,
Hmm.
but in terms of liquidity disappearing, a lot of competitive alt L1s, et cetera, offering incentives. Shadow's been like a huge downsize in terms of emissions. I think we've been reducing emissions weekly for months now, but we've been at a parity of like almost double fees and vote rewards, more than double actually than emissions. So what I've actually
Mm.
done yesterday is start to ramp up emissions again. So we're going to start increasing emissions by 20%. On majors, at least ETH, Bitcoin, there's clearly an appetite for rewards and incentives. It's been tough for S. That's where majority of our emissions have been, directed towards. Obviously, it hasn't quite, been very consistent. Like it's been a volatile token, and it's an
Hmm.
alt of an alt of an alt. There's not as much interest on it, but we're increasing rewards, the emissions to tokens, right? And we're directing more of that towards ETH and Bitcoin. SUCC, there's just like 15 exchanges. It's all been kind of a race to the bottom in terms of like fees being charged. So
Hmm.
rather than kind of join in on that, obviously we've been the dominant venue there. It's just kind of focused on ETH and Bitcoin. So at this point in time, we have our node syncing and we're getting ready to finally get MEV stuff going, the background arbitrage. And
Hmm.
from there on, increase fees as well as increase revenue with MEV. And we're internalizing the MEV that normally happens with Sonic. I don't know if everyone knows this, but it has a public mempool. People probably see this all the time. As soon as they do a swap, there's some guy right after, seconds after, just swapping, making a
Yeah.
$100 off of you. So when you have slippage, like if you set your slippage to value, a bot will realize that slippage, even if it's a mistake or whatever. We've been trying to like internalize that by running these operations ourselves. So we're getting the back run arbitrage running soon. I see the network as a bottom now in terms of I can't say the token price as a bottom, but like at this point in time, I think there's $7 million dollars in DeFi on Sonic,
Yeah.
right, which is pretty negligible. So we see it as a time to all right. We've been reducing our rewards and the emissions to tokens. I think we see it as a time to start increasing those. I think we're going to be doing this every week, at least until it reaches parity again.
Parity. What do you mean by parity?
Parity for an exchange would be where the rewards you put out
Hmm.
are equal to the fees you
I
generate,
see.
or in the case of metadexes or VE33, the vote rewards as well. So fees and vote rewards. In this case, Shadow's been operating at like 2 to 1. We've been
Hmm.
generating like double the fees that we've actually spent in emissions,
Nice.
which at the scale it is now, it's really not a big deal. Like who cares? Like
Hmm.
40,000 in fees and 20,000 in emissions. It's not really a mover, but it's good to have a sustainable product, especially in
Hmm.
times where people are kind of panicking, right? And we were buying back majority of the emissions as well with X33. X33 is about 50% of the voting power. So
Hmm.
that buys back the token, which kind of buys back those emissions. So it's a good sustainable system, but I think now is growth time. We can't get any lower in terms of liquidity, active liquidity, trades, users. So
Hmm.
I see it as a time to try and grow because there's going to be competition, but I think it's time for Sonic to kind of make its own push. I can carry the torch to start, but we hope all other apps kind of feel that energy and start pushing.
DeFi's been kind of ailing, I feel like, on lots of alts. You're making the bet here, 24, that movement's going to start to pick up on the network, that there's going to be a big push, and you guys are kind of pushing the incentives to match, right? To try and capture
Yeah,
some
yeah.
additional.
Sonic is market agnostic in the sense where it's such a small niche. It's an alt. It's not even top 100 anymore.
Hmm.
So it's not even a correlated alt. It's something that can have its own catalyst and grow in its own way and find its own niche. Because we all think and we all know that 70 million total in Sonic is quite abysmal, right? So
Hmm.
it really takes just some effort, whether it's from the network or the apps themselves or the users themselves to kind of push this up as well. I'm hoping to kind of, slowly increase growth and grow back to at least an acceptable level of revenue. I think revenue is something that's really drastically dropped. I think right now we lead in revenue.
You can only do what you have control over, right? You can only change what you have control over, and you have control over Shadow Exchange, and so that's what you're going to be working on. Now, what other you guys? So we talked a little bit about new feature here, the MEV capture, right? Meaning like you guys are going to capture this revenue that is being picked up by MEV bots whenever people make swaps. Assuming turning that over somehow into buybacks or maybe that's just going in your pocket 24. I don't know.
No, in this case, the way we have it set up is essentially the pools that have suffered from this adverse selection cost. That's the technical term, loss versus rebalancing. That's where we're going to target. So if you're a liquidity provider, and liquidity providers are the most important people here, like mathematically, we want to return that same value that we gain from MEV back to those pools. Either we bribe it, or essentially it just goes back to that pool. So essentially, either exactly the same amount of money that would have been lost elsewhere, or greater than. It's never going to be less, and it'll just go back to the protocol. We'll obviously bribe it to pools, and our users and our token will do better for it. So it's quite an awesome flywheel. Issue is, at this point in time, MEV isn't quite as big of a product as like when you have 3 million in liquidity on Shadow, right? Like, we're not going to be making boatloads of cash here, but it's at least an additional incentive that would have otherwise been taken by an external bot, and it gets returned back. So right now we want to prioritize liquidity providers. There haven't been that much on Sonic. We want to return that value back to them, and we use the X33 system to do that, either by vote bribing or directly providing liquidity incentives to the pool.
Pretty cool, dude. Any other new features you got coming up on Shadow? Anything you guys are cooking up?
We have a couple things. I kind of want to keep that in-house in terms of MetaDex technology or new features or innovations. We kind of lead the space. I don't know if you've seen, there's been so many different versions of X33. I saw G33, H33. Even within Sonic, a lot of our front-end design have been definitely inspired a lot of projects, and I don't mind that. It's the nature of working in open source. This is kind of already in the process, but we have this auto vault set up. So right now with your X Shadow, either you manually vote and earn rewards, you mint X33 with your X Shadow. Now we're providing these vaults. Auto vaults is a term for now. That's just in place temporarily, but you can stake your X Shadow and it'll automatically vote for you like the rest of the systems. But then you can choose a reward asset. If you want to earn in S, your vote rewards will be in S. If you want to earn in USDC, it'll be in USDC. So I think that's a cool feature as well. Kind of DCA into S or USDC. And you want your yield to be in maybe, like, to me, the biggest use case is USDC, right? Like if you're earning vote rewards and the markets are bad and you're earning it in a bunch of volatile assets, and maybe you didn't sell it right away, right? And like you're stuck with now whatever that asset, that reward asset is. But this instead would automatically vote for you, get you the highest amount of rewards, and then swap it to the asset that you'd like.
I mean, but these are some pretty good features, man. You got MEV capture, you got these vaults that auto vote for you and then spit out the rewards and whatever you want. These are some pretty handy features. I think users should check them out if they haven't already. Tell your friends about them. Let's boost these pool numbers because it'll just pay out in the long run for everybody. It's also really easy.
I will say though, maybe just like as a call to action, we are increasing rewards on wrapped ETH USDC, wrapped Bitcoin USDC, wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped ETH pairs as well. And we're going to be ramping those up over the next few weeks. We're obviously going to be doing a lot of marketing towards that and a lot of comms. But with a 20% emissions increase every week, there'll be more appetite. We're obviously not going to just throw everything right away, but we're going to slowly increase the rewards to these pools. So if you're holding your ETH or your Bitcoin that you just purchased at 75K because you think it's a great deal, highly recommend to look into, providing liquidity on Shadow. I know prices are volatile now. I'm in an extremely wide pool on both my ETH and Bitcoin. So I'm doomer all the way down to 50K Bitcoin, all the way up to 80K Bitcoin. And same thing with ETH, down to 1,500, all the way up to 3K. So you can still earn quite a bit on these wide pools. And you can use liquidity, concentrated liquidity to buy in, to get an asset, for virtually zero slippage, or, sell an asset on the way up, right? So look into these things. You can check our docs. We have a lot of information about range orders, about how you can use concentrated liquidity to buy and sell assets without really affecting the liquidity or the chart. It's basically selling into volume. Quite popular, so I highly recommend that as well.
Hell yeah. I think that's some extra helpful alpha for some people if you weren't aware how to use concentrated liquidity to get in and out of these positions. Set these wide ranges. Guys, check it out. All right.
Come on. Yo, this that spooky shit. That real spooky That's right. Shit. That GM Sonic shit. Hey, yo, Mr. Clean. Shout out to Dracula Presley. Corvin.